Today's topic is carbon cycle. In this video, we will talk carbon cycle. So basically, when we are talking about carbon cycle, we can see that we need to know about three things. The first thing, that is, what is the source? What is the main source of carbon? Second thing, that is, how does this mineral carbon that is move among plants, animal and the reservoir? And the third thing, that is, how it get back to its original source. If we are talking about the carbon cycle, the main source of carbon cycle is oceanic and atmospheric. Oceanic and the atmospheric, these are the two main source of carbon. This is the first thing we should know about the source. Second thing, that is, how does this carbon moves? And the third thing, that is, how it get back to its original source. So let's start with carbon cycle. As I have already told that the main source of carbon is atmospheric and oceanic. In atmosphere, the carbon is present in a form of carbon dioxide, or we can say that the free carbon dioxide is present. Okay. Then what happened? Plants, algae and photosynthetic bacteria, through the process of photosynthesis, they prepare their own food. Thus the carbon become the part of the plant. So what happened? Plant, algae and photosynthetic bacteria use carbon dioxide, and in the presence of sunlight they make their own food, and the carbon is become the part of their part. Then what happened? Animal are the consumer. Okay, animal are the consumer. They derive the carbon from the plant by consuming plant food material. By consuming plant food materials, animal derive the carbon from the plant. Through the process of respiration, as we know that when the animal respire, that release the carbon dioxide. Through respiration, that again animal return carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Again it get back to the atmosphere. So what we have seen, from atmosphere, in the presence of sunlight, plant, algae and photosynthetic bacteria, they prepare their own food and they grow through the process of photosynthesis. Okay, once the carbon is fixed into them, plants, then we go to the animal. Animal are the consumer. They will consume the plant. After consuming the plant, the carbon is taken by the animal, and through the process of respiration, again it get back to the atmosphere. When plant that are die and they are buried may turn into the fossil fuel, oil, coal by the carbonification process that's required over millions of years. Okay. After some time, the plants and animal both will die. The death and decay of the both, okay, that result into the mineralization, that organic matter that are present in the form of organic matter. That organic matter is being mineralized. Mineralization means that is a degradations of the complex into the simple form. Organic matter, it is already present into the complex form. That is, mineralization is done by the microorganism. Okay, through microbial oxidation, mineralization will be done of the dead and decay of the organic matter that are presence of plants and animal. Through mineralization, again the carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Okay, these are the things. And dead and decay of this over a million of years, that result into the fossil fuel, coal, oil, coal, etc. When human burn this fossil fuel, most of the carbon quickly enter into the atmosphere through the combustion process. When they burn these fossil fuel, oil, coal. Then what happened when they burn this fossil fuel? Then again the carbon is returned back into the atmosphere. Okay, this is what it is in the atmospheric carbon dioxide. This is much take place in the biotic factor, in the living factor. This cycle that is happen in the living factor. What we have understood till now, that again I am repeating, that is, in atmosphere carbon dioxide is present. Through the process of photosynthesis, plant will fix the carbon dioxide and plant will grow. Once the plant will grow, that is being consumed by the animal. Okay, after the death and decay of the plant and animal, that result into the mineralization by the microorganism. Again it's mineralization, that again it through the mineralization process that converts the organic into the simple form, against the carbon dioxide back release into the atmosphere. Okay, the dead and decay materials over the millions of years that turn into the fossil fuel, coal, oil and coal, etc. By burning them, or we can say that by combustion, when we burn this, again the carbon is released into the atmosphere. Okay, this is what this cycle is happening into the biotic factor. Now we will see how this carbon cycle that take place in the ocean. As I have told that the main source of carbon is atmosphere and the oceanic source. So what happened? Carbon dioxide that are present in the atmosphere, that will diffuse into the ocean. In ocean, there are the carbonated rocks and the bicarbonate rocks that are present in the ocean. Okay, from the atmospheric source, the carbon will diffuse into the ocean. In ocean, there are the carbonated rocks and the bicarbonated rocks that are present. Okay, and due to the weathering process, again the carbon is released from this rock into the atmosphere. Normally what happen? The carbon dioxide from the atmosphere dissolve into the surface water of the ocean, and we also know that the phytoplanktons are also present into the ocean. They use this dissolved carbon dioxide and turn into the organic matter. Many organisms that use carbon to make their calcium carbonate as a building material of shell and skeleton. Okay, many of the organisms in the ocean, they make their shell and skeleton, okay, made up of carbon. When this organism die, after some time this organism will die, that dead shell or this skeleton that will dip into the water. When it dip into the water, again it form the layer of carbon in the sediments. Over the million of years, chemical and the physical process may turn this sediment into the rocks. And due to the weathering, again it get back to the atmosphere. This is what all about the carbon cycle. This much part occur in the abiotic factor. Abiotic means non-living factors, that carbon dioxide that is diffused into the oceans. In the ocean, there are the many organisms that use this carbon and make their shell, skeleton. Okay, after that dead and decay, they will make the layer in the sediments. Okay, after the any physical or the chemical process, these sediments turn into the rocks. From the rocks, again due to the weathering of rocks, there will be the crack formation of rocks. Due to the weathering, again the carbon dioxide is get back released into the atmosphere. This is what all about the carbon cycle. If we talk about the introduction, all living things are made up of carbon. If I talk about the living things, all the living and the non-living things, Biotic and the abiotic, everywhere the presence of carbon is everywhere. If we talk about the living things, the presence of carbon in the protein, living things are made up of proteins. The protein contain carbon source, carbohydrate contain carbon source, fats, nucleic acids, vitamins. In some of the animals such as endoskeleton is made up of carbon, exoskeleton is made up of carbon. So without the carbon, living thing is impossible. So we have said that all the living things are made up of carbon. Carbon is also a part of the ocean, air and even the rocks. They are also present in the ocean, air and the rocks. Carbon is most important element in the cell, as we know that, because it is the most important element in the cell. In atmosphere, carbon is attached to the oxygen in a gas called that is carbon dioxide. In nature, carbon exists in a form of organic compound and inorganic compound. It is exists in the two form, organic and inorganic. Organic means that carbon is attached with a hydrogen atom, that is known as the organic, and inorganic means most of these molecule does not contain both carbon and hydrogen, either carbon or hydrogen is present, whereas in organic both the carbon and hydrogen both is present. In the inorganic, either carbon or hydrogen. This is what all about the carbon cycle.